College football time with Avery and Miguel. Happy Monday, everyone. Week 8 is in the books, and it's just astonishing to see teams like Indiana, Army, Navy, Iowa State, um, being undefeated, BYU. And that's the first thing we're going to talk about, Avery. We always talk about Saturday, but Fridays are making an impact now this season. Oklahoma State, BYU, Utah. I have much respect for Utah sports. BYU, that quarterback, that drive, that comeback, that rally, amazing, amazing. It was by far one of my favorite games of this weekend in week 8, 38-35. BYU survives. They remain undefeated. Avery,
You're
what did
you're
you
absolutely
go ahead?
you're absolutely right. Friday nights are making an impact as well. You talk about Friday Night Lights, high school football down here in Florida. It is a thing. But when you're done with high school football and you head home, you catch one of those Friday night games, and you're probably just looking for something to just pass the time until you go to bed. But Oklahoma State, BYU, Friday night, I was catching this game at work, and it was just a back and forth show. And you are absolutely correct. BYU's quarterback, Jade Retzlaff, he only had 13 for 26, 50% completion, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but the one TD that count, 10 seconds left to his wide receiver, Darius Latner. I, I mean, this was a really great game. And just like you said, a lot of respect for Utah sports, but BYU is making an impact. And just like you mentioned, in the preseason, experts predicted that BYU and Iowa State were going to finish dead last in the Big 12. But these two teams, undefeated, are leading the conference. Now, hopefully, what we're talking about doesn't have a negative impact, but let me tell you, if you are a fan of BYU, if you are a fan of Ohio State, fly those flags. Fly those flags. You are in good position just to say, hey, I'm an alumnus of the school. I played for this school. I went to the school. I love this school. They're playing both teams, BYU, Iowa State. They're playing really good football, and it's really exciting.
It's beautiful college football what I'm seeing this season. Um, this is why, and I can't stress this enough. I am super, super fan and supportive of the underdogs, the small market teams. Those are some of the best stories. That's why me in the future, I'm already doing it with this platform. I like to highlight on those kind of teams. But in the future, if I want to go somewhere even much more deeper, I'm sticking to the small markets. I'm sticking to the underdogs. I'm sticking with those. I'm a New Yorker, born and raised, but I'm a person that I just don't stick to big market. I like focusing on the others as well that deserve much more respect. But now let's go to the next one, Avery. Alabama, Tennessee. Was one of those matchups I was waiting for. And the last time that these two teams have met was back in 2022. I was watching that game. Tennessee survived 52-49 under Nick Saban. This was against Nick Saban, Alabama, a very tough Alabama team. But they won. Tennessee again won this time without a Nick Saban. They won 21-17. But many people, mostly media, they're very angry, I should say, at Alabama because of what has been happening. They've lost to two Tennessee teams in 1 month. Vanderbilt, and now the Volunteers. So everyone is looking at the head coach because many people feel that there's a lack of discipline with this Alabama team. There's a lack of leadership. I'm not in the locker rooms, I'm not there. So these are speculations, I should say. But Tennessee and their defense stepped up big time in this game. And they handed Alabama their second loss this season. And they both came in the same month. Not by the Volunteers, but another Tennessee team as well. So it's been a nightmare for Alabama dealing with Tennessee teams for this month.
You're right. This is the first time Alabama has lost 2 games in October since Coach Nick Saban was there in his first year in 2007. As you can see, I'll go ahead and rep the Tennessee Volunteers hat. My uncle gave it to me when they were visiting. Like you, I love sports. Yes, I am a fan of Alabama, but when I travel or if, friends or family travel, they know I love sports, so I was able to get this. So I said, you know what? Tennessee won. I'll go ahead and wear it. I promised my uncle I would. I can't help but congratulate Tennessee. They held Alabama to 17 points, which is their lowest point total of the season. At that point before their game on Saturday, Alabama scored at least 25. Even in their loss to Vanderbilt, they scored 35. So, granted, I think and you're right, when it comes to media and putting the spotlight on teams, like you said, it could be speculation, but I looking from a fan standpoint, like I've said, Alabama needs to play a complete game. They need to play 4 quarters. I At this point, even with the loss to Vanderbilt before the loss to Tennessee, I think Coach DeBera is doing a very good job of the team. I think the team is doing a decent job. There are just things that need to be hashed out, whether in the locker room or whether on the game plan that they need to work on. They have about 5 more games to go. I don't think their season's over. I think there's something that they can look at and build from it. And like a lot of teams, when you're a fan of a team and you see your team start to struggle, you kind of want to start pointing fingers when really it could just be something simple. And media is going to be media. They're going to speculate. They're going to make their own predictions. They're going to do this and say that. But it's kind of interesting that they're doing it for Alabama because Alabama has this long-standing tradition of winning, So when you're not winning, people are going to call you out on it. But I mean, there are a lot of college football teams that have a history of winning. The in a way, I'm like, you don't need to pick on Alabama. I'm not saying this as an Alabama fan, but you don't need to pick on a school. I'm like, these young men are doing the best they can. If in fact they are playing their hardest, if it's just, you know, uh, game plans that need to be looked over, film that needs to be looked over, if they're, you know, just getting outplayed, and we've mentioned it, some schools just get outplayed, get outcoached. So, overall, from a college football standpoint, Alabama is just not playing a complete game. So what they need to do in the future for the remainder of their season is take a look at what has not worked, what is working, go back and see what can be done in order to kind of finish on a high note. And overall, Tennessee has even been playing a very good season so far. And like anything, when you beat a school, whether it be a rival or just the fact that you have history, like you said, Tennessee beat Alabama a couple years ago, they can see this as this stepping stone. So Tennessee also, about 5 more games to go. They want to see what they can do to jump up in those rankings. They want to jump up in the SEC conference, hopefully, and get a playoff berth. And just like Alabama, they've lost two in the month of October, but still got some more college football to go. Just like you say, play 4 quarters, you play 60 minutes of football, you play a season. One game isn't a season. You're gonna play 11 or 12 games. So, you know, Alabama's got to get it together. Hopefully, it works out for them. But also with Tennessee, very good job to them.
Last but not least, Iowa State, Avery, 7-0. Iowa State. Impressive win. I mean, that game against UCF, that crowd, oh my goodness, that crowd erupted. Erupted. So I'm happy for them. That, in my opinion, they're one of the biggest winners of week 8. The poll, the AP poll is very interesting. Every week is interesting. And now that we're soon entering November, it's gonna get even much more interesting. So, but great rally, great come from behind victory. It was a feel-good victory. They needed to win that game. And I'm just tuning in to see what's next for them. I mean, what do you think about this Iowa State team and the kind of run that they're going?
I think it was I think it, like anything, when it starts off great, that's where your momentum takes over. And Iowa State started off with a win beating Iowa, and they were ranked at the beginning of the season. And it just kind of went from there. And Iowa State is playing one game at a time. They're not looking forward to, okay, we play such and such team in week 7 or such and such team in week 10, or we end the season here. I think Iowa is very consistent. They are taking it one game at a time, just like BYU. They're taking it one game at a time, So Iowa State, like I said, the Cyclones, very good college basketball team. We've mentioned this before. When you have these teams that are more prevalent in another sport, but yet they are now making an impact in, an additional sport for their school, it's a big deal. And not only that, you have the school coming together, you have alumnus and students and just, people in the area. We mentioned, small market. I completely agree with you. Utah sports, Iowa sports, that Midwest, even in the Tennessee, Kentucky area, those are a bit of small markets as well. You want to look to see what is working. And being from Florida, I understand our market is pretty big down here as well. But there's something about looking at that underdog. There's something about that small school that's making an impact. And we've mentioned it: Army, Navy, the service schools, BYU, Iowa State, Indiana, even Pittsburgh. You know, there's something about these schools that what's working is working. Now, if you want to say transfer portal has helped out, okay, but it could be the fact that it's always there. And then once you get the students in wherever they come from, you know, when magic happens. And it's great to see, especially on a Friday night, on a Saturday afternoon, or even, a late Saturday night, knowing that, those markets out west, they're starting their games at like 9 and 10 o'clock, and you're staying up past midnight to catch a really great game, and you can't help it. And you're correct. Iowa State winning at home, BYU winning at home. College football stadiums, college football atmosphere is something completely different. And if you're coming back to win, if you're winning at home, it's a big deal. And when you have that momentum, it just keeps going and going and going. So I definitely look forward to see what is coming up for Iowa State, and definitely BYU. Because like I stated, they were predicted both teams to finish dead last in the Big 12. And both of these teams are leading the conference. I believe Iowa State is technically um, the leader in the conference because they have more wins. But this is something exciting to see, and we've said it, for a few years now doing this, not just Saturday, but Friday night, and still seeing all that excitement. And it's great to see. And I still can't wait to see what's going to happen in the next coming weeks as well.